Hi all, welcome to Cyber Warfare AWS Cloud Red Team course. In this module, we will discuss about how we can enumerate a different data or information from AWS EC2 instance services. How we can use those services and how we can utilize AWS CLI or APIs to enumerate all these informations. So in this enumeration phase, we will enumerate about VPC, where EC2 instances running, what is their public and private IPs, subnet their subnets, then their security groups is attached to this particular EC2 instance, EMI, what EMI they use, it's a Linux based operating system or Windows based operating system, what version they are using, storage, what type of storage they have, and all the other information. Is there any user specific data, or is there any metadata which is attached to this instance, and what are the role which is attached or associated with this instance. So we'll discuss about, or we will enumerate about all this information using only AWS CLI option. So suppose if you access the access key or credentials of any user, or if you compromise the access key or credentials to a user, how you can enumerate, how you can configure your CLI, and you can enumerate a different informations regarding the EC2 services. So let's discuss one by one. So the first command which I'm going to use it, AWS EC2 describe instance. It will show you all the instance along with their relative informations. So you can see here I'm just copying here. Suppose I already compromised one user and I already configured my CLI. So let's do one by one. So just copy this one. It will show you all the instance which is there in EC2. The one and most important thing, you have to define the region. Otherwise, it will set the default region which is configured in your AWS CLI profile. So you can see here, let's suppose clear this one and specify the region US East 2. Showing all the EC2 instances there. Let's clear this one and specify US East 1. Now there is no instances there. US West 1. There is no instance in this region. West 2 also, there is no instance in this region. So it is really important to understand about the region, how many regions are there and instances which is there in those regions. Because in red teaming, it's not about you will find the instance, it's the region which is already defined in your CLI configuration. So you have to explore all the region and you have to understand all the instances which is there. Suppose I have an instance in East region 2. Okay, so you can see here in the, you can see here, this is the AWS console, all the instances which is running here. So you can see here all the instances you can see here, and this is there in Ohio region, that means US East 2 region. So let's how we can explore using the AWS CLI options or a command line of command line to explore all the or extract all the information from the AWS EC2 services. So you can see here, this is the first thing, this is the AMI launcher index, image ID, instance ID. This is really important. So each and every instance have a unique instance ID, which is denoted by I and the number of the instances. So this will be unique for each and every instances. And this is instance type T2 macro, instance key name which is used to authenticate this instance. So I use AWS Red Team key. When it's launched, what are the information is there, private IP address, public IP address, DNS. So you can see here in region also we have availability join. In region also we have availability join. So which zone this region is hosted, or this EC2 instance is running. Then you have information about EBS, which is a storage device, block storage device attached to this instance, which is used to store your data on EC2 instance. It's just like volume or just like drive you have in your personal computer. like we have in EC2 instance. This is the volume ID. This is the location where it's attached. Subnet and VPC details also you can extract here. Network interface, this is really important. How many interfaces are there? So you can see here there is only one interface is attached to this one. Security groups, yes, this is also important. Just like we already discussed what is security group. To enumerate about the security group, you can see here this is the security group. You can enumerate about this one. Public IP address, private IP address. There is no public IP address attached to. And this is the key tag if you have any information in this key tag. All the information you can see here. Okay, this is the first instance I have. Now let's look for the second instance. All the information regarding this instance. You can see here this instance that has a public IP address, and definitely private IP address will be there for each and every instance. Availability zone, subnet, VPC ID, EBS which is attached to this one, and this is really important to understand about the role. So you can see here there is one role which is attached to this instance. So there is overall 5 or 6 things we have to enumerate: what roles, what public or private IP address, VPC ID, subnet ID, security group, as well as the storage. So these are the 3, 4, 6 we have to understand. And there is one more thing we'll discuss in coming scenarios, like what are the other information we can exfiltrate or which is used for our further red teaming activities. This is the network interface card which is attached to this instance. Public, private IP address, IP owners, and all this information you can see here. This is a key tag which is attached to this this instance. So this is 3. Let's look at the third instance. Similar like the instance ID and all this information about the third instance. IP address, EBS, security groups, and this is the fourth instance. So you can see here there is also a IP address attached to this one. This is the instance ID. This is the AMI ID. This is the role, the profile which is attached to this instance. This is the security group ID. This is all about the instances. So describe instance only show these type of information, but there is a lot more information which is not there, or you can't extract using this command. So let's look at those commands which can extract more information. So you can see here, if you want to describe about, related to a particular instance, you can specify the instance ID directly. So suppose here I use the describe instance directly, so it will show you all the instance in all the region. You have to specify the region also, otherwise it will take the default region. And if you want to check for a particular instance, you can do that. So you have to just copy the instance ID which is unique for each and every instance. Just copy this instance ID here, paste it here, and that's all. So it will show you information about the particular instance, those whose ID you specified here. All the information is similar like describe instance, but here you have to specify the instance ID, so you can only see the result for this particular instance ID. That's it. So this is how you can extract the more information about EC2 instance or a particular EC2 instances. So now let's look at the next thing what we are going to explore. So there is one more thing which is there in EC2. Just like when EC2 run, you can specify your command or user data. Just like if you want to, if there is one scenario that if EC2 instance run, you want these tool will install, or these command will execute automatically. So you can specify those things in user data sections. You can extract the user data through AWS CLI or metadata, just like which is, suppose if you have a EC2 access, how you extract the user data using the metadata endpoint 169.254 169.254. But in this case you have a command line access, and how you can extract the user data for this particular instance. So suppose this is the command which is going to extract the user data. You can see here I use the describe instance. You won't see any user data there. You only see the tags. They include the tags and the name which is specified to uniquely identify the instances, or make a set of groups of instances. But in this case, suppose if you want to run few commands, which when instance is run, or when instance is rebooted or restart, these commands should be run at the first priorities. You can add those things in user sections. So how we can get the information, because those user section maybe contain some kind of sensitive data, or some kind of credentials that they can use for verify another purpose. So let's extract the information about user data. So let's copy this one. You have to specify the instance ID as well. Let's copy this one, instance ID, and you have to specify the instance ID. So suppose I'm just extracting the information about new instances which I created, and you have to specify the instance ID. Okay, you have to change this attribute to double. So you can see here there is no user data which is attached to this instance. Let's copy other instance ID here. Let's copy this instance ID. Let's paste it here. Let's see, is there any user data which is there? No, this instance doesn't contain any user data. Let's copy another one. Let's copy this instance ID. No, there is no user data in this instance also. Let's copy the last one. Okay, so you can see here this instance contain a user data which is there in base 64, so you can encode it. So you can decode this value. It's a base64 value, so you can decode here. This value is encoded as a base64. Let's decode this value. So just copy this value, open a Linux terminal here, echo, specify the data with pipe operator base 64 minus t. Okay, so you can see here there is two command which is there in user data. So there may be possibility if if any administrator or any the instance owner can add any secrets or credentials there in user data sections. So this is how you can get the more information, enumerate more information about EC2 instance as well as user data which is there in those EC2 instance. So you can see there is 4 instances, but only this instance contain a user data, and there may be a possibility that there is a sensitive information, but for a red team perspective you have to enumerate all these things. Okay, so let's move. So we discuss about how we can enumerate user data section with as well as other informations. Now what a role is attached to this particular instance. So you can directly you see there in this command describe instance, or you can execute this command to get the information about instance profile which is attached there. Just close this one also. Let's open new tab, paste it here. Okay, so you can see here this is the instance ID and this is the profile which is attached to this instance. So this is the role which is attached to this instance. Second instance, this the attached role is this one, and third instance have this role. So this is how you can explore, because for privilege escalations and credential access techniques, you have to focus on the high privileged EC2 instance. So you can grab the metadata or temporary credential from there to perform a different high privileged task there in AWS environment. So this is how this is important to understand about what role is attached to what instance. So this command is really important to get the information about what role is attached to this one. So this is all about how you can enumerate other informations. Let's discuss about how we can actually use those informations to perform a different red teaming phase in our coming sections. So that's all for this video. Thank you so much for watching this video.